to 200 200.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Yes!
This is the Ross Kaminsky Show.
You're a great American.
He's a great guy.
Now, Ross Kaminsky on Denver's talk station, 630 KHOW.
All right, good morning. It's Wednesday. I'm Ross. Thanks for being here. Hey, do me a favor, unless you're listening on the podcast, because then it'll be too late. But the keyword this hour to enter iHeart's 12K a day giveaway is HOPE. So if you haven't done this yet, text HOPE to 200 200. You'll get a confirmation. You'll get some information, standard data, and message rates do apply. Please do play the game, because the bottom line is this. I want one of my listeners to win. It's not like I get a cut if you win. I don't get anything. I just want one of my listeners to win $1,000. So text HOPE to 200 200, will you? All right, I do need to start today's show talking about what's going on in Philadelphia. It's getting rather out of control. A couple of days ago, I did watch a video. It was a cell phone video that was posted online of the event that has led to massive riots and looting in Philadelphia. The guy who was killed, his name was Walter Wallace Jr. And as I understand the story, his mother called the police, saying that he had a knife, he was acting erratically. News reports suggest that the mother told the police that the son had some kind of emotional, mental health disorder. But in any case, as you watch the video, which is narrated by a guy just saying whoa and swearing and F this and all whatever. And you see a guy who's sort of walking around carrying a knife, comes around a car, and the police officers are there, and they're yelling at him, drop the knife, drop the knife, drop the knife, and he just keeps coming around the corner. And when he gets about, I'm going to say 15 feet from them, I'm guessing, they're still yelling, drop the knife, and he sort of turns and, points himself in their direction, and maybe he's taking a couple steps in their direction, and they take him down. Something like 7 shots from each of the 2 police officers. I don't know how many hit Mr. Wallace, but he died. Now, one of the things I want to point out, because I've been told this frequently by friends in law enforcement, one of the things you learn in law enforcement training is how fast somebody can be on you from not too far away. And for example, someone has a knife. If they're bound and determined to run at you, if they're even reasonably quick and you're not the fastest draw in the world, it's quite possible that that person could be on you with a knife before you draw your gun. So I do want folks to keep that in mind, because I imagine a lot of people may be thinking, well, he's 15 feet away or whatever he was. He wasn't, he wasn't one arm's length in front of him, but he wasn't super far away either. And wondering, well, why would you, shoot a guy who's there with a knife? He doesn't have a gun. Well, that's the reason. You're trained. You're trained when you do police training that a person with a gun who's even a little bit close is much more of a threat to you than, someone without training might think, because of the timing of how fast they can get to you. Anyway, they shot him. They killed him. I'll leave it to the authorities there to decide whether that was a so-called good shoot. To me, I suspect it will be found to be legitimate use of force, even though that doesn't make it not a sad situation. But the reaction now in Philadelphia has been just absolutely out of control, rioting, looting, attacking police. Something around 30 police officers had to be hospitalized. One female police officer was sent to the hospital with a broken leg because she was apparently intentionally hit by a pickup truck. Here's a tweet from, actually I'll share 2 tweets with you. Let's see, from 10 hours ago, and this is from the Philadelphia Office of Emergency Management. The Philadelphia Police Department is requesting that all residents in the 12, 16, 18, 19, 24, 25, and 26th districts remain indoors except when necessary. These areas are experiencing widespread demonstrations that have turned violent with looting. That's probably a pretty big part of the city when you're talking about, 7 separate districts. I don't know how big a district is in Philadelphia, but I'm guessing it's bigger than a block. And then another tweet, this directly from the Philadelphia police, from about 9 p.m. Philadelphia time last night. And it says, alert, a large crowd of approximately 1,000 is looting businesses in the area of, Castor and Aramingo. I don't know Philadelphia, so that doesn't mean anything to me, but it says avoid the area. Now, one person, clearly on the defund the police side of things, says maybe you shouldn't shoot people. And another person answers something similar, avoid killing unarmed people. Well, he wasn't unarmed. But look, I'm not looking to make this about the police. Again, we'll let the people who investigate these things investigate it and tell us what they come up with, and then you can decide whether you believe that or not. That's up to you. But in the meantime, there's video after video after video out there now. I watched one this morning of people looting, the one I watched this morning, people looting a Walmart. And you just have these dozens of people, scurrying into the Walmart and then coming out carrying whatever they can carry. I see one that looks like carrying a flat screen TV. There was one that looks like people were like moving a washing machine out of the Walmart and whatever else they can carry. There were other videos and still pictures of people looting Foot Locker and things like that. This is here's another one. It's sort of like a dollar store kind of place called Five Below. Just being looted, just running in, just taking whatever they can. And I will tell you, I know that it is not legal in most parts of the United States, and I realize that there could be a there could be a real conversation to be had about whether or not it should be legal, but it is very, very difficult for me personally to watch the looting of businesses, which in a way, I've talked about this before, it is a theft of people's lives, not just of stuff. I know the liberal left doesn't think about it that way. They just think of it as stuff, and they say, well, they have insurance, so don't worry about it. But there is no such thing as free money, right? Even if it's, Walmart, one of the biggest companies in the world, and even if they have insurance. Well, what does that mean if all their stuff gets stolen? So if the insurance doesn't cover it, right? Okay, then Walmart has all that expense that they have to recover. And when they have to recover it, that means that you're going to pay for it one way or another as a customer, either through, one way or another through higher prices, because either they're going to have to raise their prices just to cover that, or they'll raise the prices across the whole company just a tiny bit, a penny here and a penny there, right? But it'll add up to whatever they need to recover. And if insurance covers it, then very likely their insurance premiums will go up, and we as customers will have to pay for that too. And then what about all the employees who work there, who maybe furloughed for a while, or just see the destruction that happened to the place that they work? And I'm sure that some of them care. And I'll tell you, it is so hard for me to watch something like this and to think that the law should prevent the use of force to defend property. And it does in Colorado. You are not allowed to use lethal, which also means potentially lethal, force to defend your property. And this might just be my own personal psychological quirk, okay? But we've talked about this on the show back, months and months ago. But let's say you legally own a gun. It doesn't matter whether you have a concealed carry permit. If you're at your house, you don't need one. and you can open carry anyway. So let's say you legally own a gun and you go into your garage and someone is in your garage when you get there trying to steal your car, steal your stuff. You're not allowed to shoot him unless you believe, or at least claim you believe, that that person posed an immediate threat of physical harm to you. Right? So if you do get in that situation and you do end up shooting someone, you sure better say that that person turned toward you and you feared for your life, and so you shot him. Because otherwise you're going to be in big trouble. And I don't know if this is just too Wild West on my part, or if I am some unevolved troglodyte. But I think if someone is stealing my stuff, I should be able to shoot him. And I think if someone is robbing my store, I should be able to shoot him. Because it's not just stuff. No matter how the left thinks about it, no matter how often they say, well, they're insured, don't worry about it. The White House put out a statement yesterday. The press secretary's office put out a statement, and I quote, "The riots in Philadelphia are the most recent consequence of the liberal Democrats' war against the police. Law enforcement is an incredibly dangerous occupation, and thousands of officers have given their lives in the line of duty. All lethal force incidents must be fully investigated. The facts must be followed wherever they lead to ensure fair and just results. In America, we resolve conflicts through the courts and the justice system. We can never allow mob rule. The Trump administration stands proudly with law enforcement and stands ready upon request to deploy any and all federal resources to end these riots." Now, I do believe the governor of Pennsylvania called some National Guard units into Philadelphia. But remember, Pennsylvania has one of the worst governors in America, a very far left guy who basically completely shut down his state's economy early in COVID, including lots of businesses where people would not be working near each other. The guy shut down mining and logging. And Pennsylvania and Philadelphia historically, well, in recent history, has very liberal mayors as well. And again, through these news stories, there do not appear to have been very many arrests, even though you have 1,000 people looting in one place. Yesterday, about 91 people were arrested, according to Fox News, and 30 police officers were injured. It just doesn't sound right. You could see 90 people, in this video running into a Walmart and stealing stuff. I don't know. I don't want to make this about the election too much. One does have to wonder whether this kind of thing will come into play in the election. I'll leave you to be the judge of that. I will point out, and we'll probably talk about this more a little later in the show, it seems, if you look at an electoral map in the state of play right now, unless this thing is really a Biden blowout win, it seems more likely than not that whoever wins Pennsylvania will win the election. And one does have to wonder if this kind of stuff going on in Pennsylvania right now could be the difference in, how people vote, and if people start thinking again about law and order and start thinking that they prefer Trump on law and order. Again, I don't know if they will, but this could potentially be a factor if the election is close. In fact, let me spend another minute on the Pennsylvania aspect of this. And keep in mind that it's a little bit difficult to analyze these events in the sense that they are not independent. When you're talking about winning a state versus winning another state. In other words, In a close election, you may have a candidate who has something going on in the background that people don't really understand, aren't really aware of. Trump in 2016 is a perfect example of this, where he won Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, all of which the pollsters had and the betting odds had as going to Hillary Clinton in 2016. But they're not really independent events in the sense that whatever the dynamic was that caused President Trump to outperform in Pennsylvania, it was probably more or less the same dynamic that caused him to win Wisconsin and Michigan, states that are relatively close to each other, that have, I would say Pennsylvania and Michigan have slightly more similar demographics than Pennsylvania and Wisconsin do, but you get my point. So if one candidate wins a state that he really wasn't supposed to win, there's a pretty good chance that there's something going on that will cause him to win another state he wasn't supposed to win. And it makes these things a little bit difficult to analyze. So, with polls showing Trump down by 7 or 8 in Pennsylvania right now, maybe 5, depending on which poll you look at. If he wins, then you probably think there's a chance he's going to do much better in other states. But also you look at the map and you look at the potential paths to victory. And I was looking at 538 on this. And I don't necessarily agree exactly with their numbers, but I agree with the concept that, first of all, whoever wins Pennsylvania is likely to win the election. And also that Joe Biden has slightly more ways to win the election without Pennsylvania than Donald Trump does. If Trump loses Pennsylvania, he has almost no chance of winning the election. Not zero chance, but not much. Here's the other thing I want to keep in mind, though, as we are now less than a week from this election. And this is kind of crazy. Of all the states that we are talking about as likely swing states, Pennsylvania does seem like maybe the swingiest and like maybe the most important, and they will probably be the last of the swing states to give us results. In fact, we may not know the winner of Pennsylvania until the weekend after the election.
This is Denver's Talk Station with Ross Kaminsky now. Tom Martino at 10, 630 KHOW, Denver.